but you can use that same height that you're making for your heels and sit up on it. And you can either have your knees open to the side, depending on what's going on with your knees. If that's too much pressure on your knees, you can either put something under it, under your knees, or you can come up and sit up on top of your knees here. Okay, and I want all of us for today to pay a ton of attention to lifting up to the ceiling from the back and the top of our heads. So just try that for a second and see if you feel more length and actually work in the back. Right? Okay, so we're gonna keep that action. It's lifting up from the whole back. And then go ahead and close your eyes and just start coming into the breath. And with that lift up from the back of the body, you might also start to feel that those lower ribs kind of start to come in automatically. So sometimes it's harder to knot them in, but if you lift up from the back, then they kind of start to pull themselves back in. And then we also need to take the fronts of the shoulders and pull those back. And then we can come back and just breathe. So keep breathing. Yes. And then we'll start to count 4 counts for inhale, 4 counts for exhale. So letting everything out, move the shoulder tips back, lift up from the top of the head, and then start to inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, and then exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then go ahead and bring that count inside and continue at your own count, your own internal pace. And keep going with your eyes closed, shoulder tips pulled back, back of the head pulled back. And then we're going to go ahead and release the count. So do one more round, inhaling and exhaling. And then the bottom of that last exhale, just come back into the regular breath. So you'll still just be breathing, but you're not going to be counting, not going to be paying so much attention to it. Move the back of the head back towards that back wall, and then move your shoulder tips back and then lift up through the top of the head again. And then keeping that lift through the top of the head, take the right hand back behind you, left hand on top of that left thigh, right thigh, sorry, and twist over to your right side. And then go to the other side, left hand behind you, right hand over that left thigh, twist over to the side. And then coming forward onto the hands and knees, wherever you are, whether your legs were crossed or whether you were on your knees. Tuck your toes under, lift your inner thighs towards that back wall, move the chest back towards the thighs, and come into this early downward dog with the knees bent. So we're gonna lift the hips up towards the ceiling, and just like we did sitting, we're gonna lift the head, but this time the head goes towards the floor. So it's kind of diagonal. Aim the top of the head, lengthen it towards that space between your hands. You're keeping this really nice straight line in the spine. Lift the hips up, move the thighs back, move the lower ribs back. And you should start to feel more of an opening in that middle and upper back. So moving the top of the head away from the lower back lifts up towards the ceiling. And then go ahead and put the knees down on the floor. We're gonna lengthen the spine here. This time in our child's pose, move the top of the head away from the lower back's tailbone moves away from the head. So it's almost like you're giving yourself an assist here, right? Imagine that I'm pulling gently on the sides of your head, pulling them away from your lower back, and I'm asking you to resist me with your lower back. Or I'm pulling your hips away from your head and you're moving your head away from me. And then we're gonna go ahead and tuck our toes under. Do that again. Keep the knees back for this first couple breaths. Move the head towards the hands, hips back up towards that diagonal. And then maybe start to straighten through the legs. And then pedal out through the feet. So bend one knee, lift that heel, the other. Little prances here, right? So moving that top of the head is still moving between the hands. Hips are lifted. And then try to move both heels back towards the floor. Three nice long breaths there. Can actually see more of you today. This is great. Beautiful. Okay, a couple of you I can't see, but most of you got your cameras on, I can see. All right, from there, start to walk forward, bend through the knees, walk forward towards the front of your mat. And grab your rolled up mat or pillow if you know your heels don't come down to the floor. And also your strap or your towel. The towels work actually really well here. So don't feel like you absolutely have to have your strap. I sometimes, if I can't find my strap, I just grab a towel. Okay, so if you know that you're gonna walk to the front of your mat, sorry, I should have said roll up. So you're gonna be standing at the front of your mat, and your feet are gonna be fairly wide. So we're gonna have as parallel as possible. They might start turned out, and then we're working towards turning those inner thighs in and moving the feet parallel. So if you're gonna be up on your rolled up mat or your blanket or pillow or whatever, you're gonna have your heels like this, toes on the floor. If you know that your heels come to the floor, you're just gonna be on the ground. Take your strap or your belt, take your right arm back behind you, left arm back, and we're working towards taking hold of the fingers, right? We're working towards being here, okay? But it's early, it's still morning. So treat yourself, be here. Okay, we've got our strap. We've got our squat position. I might be turned down, I might be trying to turn in. And then we're gonna go ahead and squat down with the right arm behind us, left hand behind us, and then lift up. We're gonna do that again. 2, and we're gonna lift up. And now we're gonna bend forward, exhale forward, which we're trying to come forward with a flat back. And then come all the way up again. And then one more time, come up again. And we're gonna do that 4 times, ready? Bending towards squat, lift up, Exhale down. And inhale up. We're gonna come forward and really reach through the top of the head. That's our theme for today. Top of the head reaches forward, lower back, the tailbone reaches back and up. We've got 2 more steps just like that, down and up. Another one. Lift up. Top of the head moves forward, lower back moves back and up and down and up. One more set just like that. Shoulders and elbows and arms should start to open now. And up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale forward. Inhale up. Exhale forward. All right. Release that. Shake it out. And then just while we're here, just throw the strap over your shoulder, take your right arm over, left arm back. See now if you can kind of edge that left arm up a bit and then try to reach the fingertips. Maybe they'll come together more now. And if they don't come together, maybe they're closer to coming together, right? And then wherever they are, doesn't matter if you've got them touching or holding or what, they could just be here. We're gonna just do a couple forward bends just like that without the strap to help us push the head forward. And then let's do 2 more. And 1 more. And come up. Good. All right, shake it out. Reach the arms up and down. Roll the shoulders around. Okay. All right, we're gonna do the other side. So that was our right arm up. So we're gonna take our left arm is gonna be the high arm and right arm behind us. And usually you have to dangle the strap from the top end. And then hold on to your strap, walk the fingers together a little bit more. So we're here, okay? And we're gonna do the same thing. So if you've got your feet on, your heels on your mat, go ahead and do that. And then lift the top of the head. Before we even get started, root the tailbone down towards the floor, top of the head lifted, and let's squat twice. And lift up, exhale down, inhale up, and 2 forward bends, just like on the other side, reaching that head towards that front wall, and then up, and down. This is a great one if you've slept funny at all, you wake up with a crook in your neck or something, and then down again. This is a great series for that. And then down, or if you worked some kind of cardio one day, or a big bike ride or run or something, this kind of gets out all the kinks. And up. And it's getting our heart going a bit too with all the squatting. Okay, 2 more. Ready? Down. And up. Down. And up. 2 more. Come forward. And I just realized something I'm doing here is my feet are slightly more turned out for the squat, and then I'm turning them parallel for my forward bends. Down and up. This is our last one on this side. And down. Hopefully I've counted correctly. And then I'm turning my toes in. I just noticed I was doing that. And up. All right, 1 more time. And up. Okay, release the strap. Reach the arms out to the side. Shake it out. All right, now we're gonna take our left arm over the head, reach the right arm back, and see if we can get those fingertips a little closer this time. Right, so now you might have them, and it's okay if you don't. All right, and we're just gonna do 4 forward bends just like that. 4, 3, reaching that head forward, 2, and 1. All right, release that. Release the arms up to the side. Ooh, it's intense, right? Take your strap, move it out of the way. And now, so we've got that nice opening, got that head lifting. Let's come into the squat. Again, grab your mat if you need it underneath your heels. But again, your toes, in order to get your heels down, might be a little bit more turned out. That's fine. Just the idea is that we're going to start to work towards coming into parallel. And that is something definitely you can work towards. I definitely used to be more turned out here and worked myself into parallel. So I don't even think I'm fully parallel yet. No, I'm not. Okay, so now take your hands into your prayer position, bring them to the heart, and then you're pushing your knees open with your triceps. And then lift the head back up towards that ceiling and reach the hips down towards the floor. So we've done that big opening in our shoulders partially beforehand to remind us not to crunch in too much, because this position makes us want to round. See if you can avoid that. Roll the shoulders back, lift the hips, the head and the chest. And the back of the head's lifting. And just breathe. Push into the heels, but also push into the inside of the big toe. That'll help with the balance. Keep squeezing the legs. If balance is an issue, you can also move to the wall and do this with your lower back against the wall. All right, from there, we're gonna push up to stand through the legs, come all the way up, and then we're gonna sit down again. And then get a little comfy in there, kind of edge yourself in. And then we're gonna do it again, lift up, and I'm actually using my pelvic floor here too. I'm gonna squeeze in, it's almost like a cable, and go ahead and lift up. I can say that to you guys because you're all Pilates people, right? So I'm gonna lift up and then sit down. And then exhale. So in yoga, Mula Bandha is that kind of lock from the bottom of that foot all the way up to the groin. All right, and then come all the way up. So you're kind of locking in that lower body to lift yourself up. And then sit down. We're going to do one more. Push into the feet, lift up. All right, this is the last one that was the last one we're going to do like that. Now we're going to sit back into our squat. Take your right arm, I'll mirror you. Take your right arm across that right shin and walk it out towards the side of your mat. And then reach your your left arm up to the ceiling. And then open yourself up into this really lovely twist. I don't know about you, but my back is talking to me here. In a good way. If it's talking to you in a bad way, you need to engage your abdominals more and hug the legs in towards one another. Hopefully it's a good way. And then you can walk your back arm around, and maybe you can take your back arm around to your back. Maybe you start to work it around and hold the hands together. And again, remember I told you I have really short arms? So really, if my arms were not so short, I would be holding my wrist here. So a lot of my yoga teachers are sitting here holding their opposite wrist. This is never gonna happen for me, right? Okay, and then release. It's good when I got to realize that. All right. And then you get to blame your proportions. They can say, I can't do it, I have short arms, right? Okay, so now take your left arm over your left leg in the front. And right arm up to the ceiling. And twist open, and then maybe reach behind on your back, and then maybe take hold of the hands. And then give yourself a big twist open to the side. And sit through the hips. But there still has to be some engagement, right? Because otherwise I'm just gonna go falling. So clearly my muscles are working, right? So you're pushing into your heels, squeeze. If I think of lifting, I don't even need to engage my abdominals. It just happens. And then twist over to the side. And then release the hands down, lift the hips up, and roll yourself up to stand. And you might feel like a different person than when you woke up. Okay, and now we get to keep moving. So now walk to the front of your mat. Okay. Let's, for today, just because we did all that nice squatting and it feels so stable and grounding, let's have a little bit of a wider Tadasana. So normally I tell you can bring your feet together or wider. Let's practice a little wider. So legs will be at least as wide as your hips. As women, if I say hip distance, all my students tend to do that. We think our hips are this wide. Your hips are not that wide. So look down, make sure they're really in line with your feet. And your hips are right over your feet. Inhale, arms out to the side. And exhale, swan dive over your legs. There we go. Okay. Let's inhale to a flat back here. Exhaling back into your legs. Uttanasana. And then push into your feet, come all the way up to stand. So it'll feel a little different than when we were doing it with the squat, right? And then bring your hands to your heart center. Let's keep going. Inhale, arms out to the side. And exhaling all the way down to the floor. Inhale to a flat back. And exhaling into the legs. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. And bring the hands to the heart center. One more time, inhaling all the way up. And exhaling down to the floor. This time we'll keep going. Inhale to a flat back. And exhaling into the legs. This time we're going to take our right leg back behind us. And take your right knee down to the floor. This time squeeze the thighs together. Bring both hands up to that front thigh. And then hook your thumbs. Reach the arms forward and reach them up towards the ceiling. Pull the arms down towards the the shoulder blades, and then lift the back of the head up towards the ceiling. Squeeze everything together. Go a little deeper in that left leg, and then exhale the hands to either side of that front foot. Tuck the back foot. Come into a plank pose. Lower yourself all the way down to the floor. Inhale, cobra. Exhaling back down to the floor. Tuck your toes under. Come through your child's downward facing dog. Give yourself a few breaths here. Again, top of the head moving towards the hands, hips lifted up towards the ceiling. All right, look forward between your hands now. Bend through the knees and either give yourself a light hop towards the front of the mat or walk yourself forward. Inhale to a flat back. I'm still trying to come into that hip distance leg. And then exhaling back into the legs. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. And bring your hands to your heart center. Let's keep going. Inhaling all the way up. Exhaling all the way down to the floor. Inhale to a flat back. Exhaling into the legs. And then we're going to take our left foot back this time. Put that knee down on the floor. Lift the top of the head up towards the ceiling. Hands on that front thigh to begin. Then hook your thumbs. Inhale all the way up. Lift up from the top of the head. Bend a little deeper in that front leg. Exhaling the hands to either side of that front foot. Step yourself into a plank pose. And exhaling all the way down to the floor. Reach your toes away from you. Roll the shoulders back away from the floor. Then lift that head forward and up. And then exhaling back into the legs, into the floor, sorry. Tuck your toes under, hips to your heels. Downward facing dog. And then we're going to bend through the knees and walk or hop your feet to meet your hands. Inhale to a flat back, exhaling down to the ground. Inhale all the way up to stand. And bring your hands to your heart center. And we're going to keep going. Inhaling, arms all the way up. Exhaling all the way down to the floor. Inhale to a flat back, head moves forward, hips move back. Exhaling down to the ground. And then step yourself, let's step our right leg back into that lunge again. Bring the knee down to the floor. Hook your thumbs, reach forward and up. Top of the back of the head moves up to the ceiling. And then we're going to take our right hand down to the floor, left hand open up to the ceiling. You can also have a block down under that leg, under the arm. All right, and then bring the hands back down towards the floor. And this time we're going to tuck our back toe under, lift that back thigh off the floor. Now, from there, if it's available to you, you can keep the knee down, but if it's available to you, squeeze the thighs together, bring both hands on top of that front thigh, hook your thumbs, come all the way up to stand into a high lunge. 2 more breaths here, lift that top of the head up, the abdominals will engage just from that lift. And then we're going to release our hands down to the floor, step yourself back into a plank pose, lower yourself all the way down to the floor. Inhale to cobra. Exhaling back. And come back into downward facing dog. And top of the head is moving down towards the floor. Let's lift our right leg up towards the ceiling. And I'm really gonna open my hip up here. But then I'm collapsing to my left side, right? So I have to lift my rib cage up, move the left heel down towards the floor. So this stretch is really about that bottom leg on the floor. I'm just using that top leg as like a lever. All right, turn that leg under. Let's put the right leg down and then lift the left leg up to the ceiling. And again, this is about my right heel rooting to the floor. Lift that left leg up. And then put the foot down. Good, and then we're just gonna bend through the knees, either light hop or step up towards the front of the mat. Inhale to flat back. Exhaling with the legs, and then inhale all the way up to stand. The hands back down to the heart center. All right, one more time like this. Inhale all the way up. Exhaling down to the floor. And then we're gonna take our left leg back and bring the knee down. Hook the thumbs, lift up. Good, and then we're gonna take the left hand down, right arm up to our twist. Come back to center. Tuck your back toes under, lift that back thigh, and then hook your thumbs, come all the way up into that high lunge. Push through the heel, front heel, lift that back thigh up, reach the top of the head up to the ceiling. Good, hands on either side of that front foot. Step yourself back, plank, come all the way down to the floor. Let's do a Bakasana here. So we're gonna take our right forearm is gonna be parallel to the front of the mat. I'm gonna lift up out of the right shoulder, reach the left hand forward, reach for the inside of that left foot and pull it down towards my hips. If I can manage it, I might start trying to move that elbow up to the ceiling. Lift, pull your abdominals away from the floor, and just like we've been saying the whole time, lift, move your head towards that front wall, or kind of that diagonal. And then we're gonna release that. Push the forearm down to the floor, reach your hand forward, right foot bends in, comes in inside of that leg. Push the front of the right hip down towards the floor. And then maybe that elbow comes up to the ceiling as the hand kind of pivots. Remember, this is the one where I offer a reward for anyone who can describe this verbally, not just by demonstration and showing it. Pull the belly away, and I'm dumping into that left shoulder. Lift out of the left shoulder. Don't do what I am doing now, not what I did before. All right, release that. Tuck your toes under, have your hands under your shoulders. Move the shoulders away from the floor, lift the thighs away from the floor, and let's come directly up into plank. Ready? Go. And then back. I think we need to change the name of this class from restorative, because I'm certainly not teaching it restoratively. Okay, and then I was just thinking that. All right, bend the knees and jump or walk the feet forward to meet the hands. It's called yoga flow. Inhale, head forward, and exhaling back down to the floor. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhaling down, hands to the heart center. Okay, we all doing okay? I'm just gonna check in. Just hit thumbs up if you're good. Good, okay, awesome. All right, and any questions, let me know. I think I can see most of you. All right, great, let's keep going. So we're gonna come into Utkatasana now, and we're super prepared for this because we've already been doing our lunges. So this is, our lunges, our squats. So this takes more muscular energy than our squat. But you know, it's kind of, it's the same kind of action where the legs have to be really strong so that the spine can be free. So we're in our hip distance feet. Imagine you have a yoga block between your legs. If we were in the studio, I'd be handing you out all yoga blocks. So you're gonna squeeze that fake yoga block between your thighs. Now take your hips and push them back. I even like to keep my hands into my middle finger kind of into that groin area. Push it back. Head is now really long away from my hips. And then If you want to get the arms involved here, here's a nice one. Let's hook our thumbs again and reach up. So reach the hands, top of the head away, and the hips and the tush away the other way. Pull those lower ribs in. So getting super long on the back today. That's what we're aiming for, is activating all those back muscles and creating length. And I honestly, I think he could be an inch taller after. Okay, one more breath in. And then let's stand all the way up with those arms up to the ceiling, even though you can't see the top of my body. There we go. And then lift the top of the head up to the ceiling. All right, let's sit down and do that again. So release the arms, hook the thumbs the other way. And then push into the heels, bend the knees, and then lift up. And then top of the head is reaching up towards that diagonal. And stay there while I take my sweater off. So it's not restorative, but I do think that a lot of what we're doing is kind of, at least for myself, it's balancing out all of the more kind of cardio endurance activities that we do, the more repetitive activities, right? Okay, and then come up. So yoga is not repetitive, right? We're constantly adding new moves and new planes into our practice. And that helps to counter all of that kind of repetitive motion that we do a lot. All right, so in that way it is restorative, right? All yoga that is restorative, all physical yoga. Okay, bring your hand to your heart center. And we're gonna go ahead and just come into the second series. So we're gonna hook our thumbs. Let's start with that anyway. Inhale, come all the way up. All the way down into the Utkatasana. But then exhale, and this time grab your hands behind your back, interlace your fingers and come forward into your forward bend that way. And then release the hands down to the floor. Step yourself back, plank pose. And now if you've been adding chaturanga, that hovering, you can do that. Otherwise, come all the way to the floor. If you're adding an upward dog, do that, but with the lift of the top of the head that we've been doing. Oh my God, it like changes the pose, right? So if you don't lift the top of the head, you're kind of down here. If you lift the top of the head up, all of a sudden it lifts. And then come back, downward facing dog. Let's lift that right leg up. Keep the leg turned under. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, the foot between your hands. Take that heel down to the floor. And let's come up warrior one, but let's hook our thumbs to get up there. So it's reaching forward and up. It helps us lift that head up. Push into that right heel, pull the lower ribs in. And then the shoulders can creep up around your ears a little bit. That's okay for today. Pull the right knee back, lift the top of the head. One more breath here. And then let's immediately today open to warrior two on this one. Bend through that right knee. And let's take our left hand to our left hip, push it in, right arm forward, and then look forward over our right arm. Just for today, we're gonna keep that back knee, back hand pushing in our left hip. Keep pulling that right knee back towards your right hip and look down at your knee, make sure it's not rolling in. It's to the outside of that right big toe. All right, right hand back, peaceful warrior. Exhale, come forward over that front leg, step yourself back, plank pose. Chaturanga or all the way to the floor, lifting that head forward, up dog or cobra, and exhaling back, downward facing dog. Squeeze those triceps. Lift the hips back. One more breath here, and then lifting that left leg up. Bring your left knee to your nose, put your foot between your hands. Right heel comes down, warrior one. So we're gonna hook our thumbs the opposite way, come all the way up. 3 more breaths here. And then we're going to open up to warrior two. Again, that back arm, hand is going to push that hip in, and the left hand stays forward and lift the top of the head up. And then take the right hand down that right leg, left hand up to the ceiling, and then come forward over the legs. and step yourself back in. Plank, chaturanga, or all the way to the floor, up dog or cobra, and back downward facing dog. All right, bend through the knees, and then you're either gonna walk or step, and guess what? We're gonna come back into our squat. Jumping is fun. So the squat, we're gonna jump our feet or step our feet. I'll show you this way. You can either walk and come sit down, or you can do a couple leg hops, or you can do one big hop and sit down. And then we're gonna push through the feet and come all the way up to stand. That was just to do something a little exciting. Okay. All right, and then we're at our mat, we're at the front of the mat with our feet wide. So let's take them even a little bit wider. Take your hands to your hips and stick your hips out behind you. Come forward with a flat back. Nice forward bend. And then move the top of the head away from the hips, hips away from the forehead, from the top of the head. And then start to come forward, and you can round a little bit over, and then either reach for the toes, you can bend your knees, but we're working towards straight legs here. You can take your first two fingers of each hand and wrap them around your big toe, push the thumbs into the floor, and then move your elbows out to the side to bring yourself forward. We're doing a lot of releasing that back today. Move your shoulders away from the floor. Top of the head moves to the floor. Let's take two more deep breaths in. Inhale, exhale, release that head a little further to the floor. One more time, inhale, and exhale to the floor. Take the hands up to the hips and come up with a flat back all the way up to stand. And bring the feet a little closer together, hip width apart. Bring the hands together in the heart center, and then hook your thumbs again. Inhale, come up down to your Utkatasana. 2 more big breaths here. And then exhaling, come down to the floor, and then interlace the hands behind the back, coming into your forward bend. Down to the floor, step yourself back. Plank pose, chaturanga, or all the way to the floor. Inhale, up dog or cobra, and then exhaling back, downward facing dog. I'm just gonna mute you guys because I'm getting a little background noise. Stay in your downward dog. Stay in your downward dog.
There's someone that's not muted.
Yeah, I'm muting everyone. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. And from your downward dog, let's lift our right leg up to the ceiling into that nice parallel three-legged dog. Bring your right knee to your nose, put your foot between your hands. Take your left heel to the floor, come up, warrior one. And then open warrior two. This time we're just doing our normal arms, right? Squeeze that back hip in. Take your left hand down, right arm up to the ceiling. And then this time take your right arm across the body as your left arm goes over. And we still have to use so much muscular energy in those legs. And then let's lift up again. And then one more time over. And then this will be our last time, I promise, with this one. Inhaling up. And then exhale. This time your right forearm is going to come up to the right thigh, or it can come up to the inside of that right leg. If you have a block, you can put it under your right hand. Left hand up, and then reach the left arm around the body, and then open the left shoulder. So if you can, you're reaching for that top of that right thigh here. Now reach the top of the head away from that back heel, and the back heel away from the top of the head. Pull the belly button in, rotate yourself further. If the neck is okay, look up at the ceiling. Two nice big inhales and exhales. And then we're gonna go ahead and straighten through that right leg by lifting up on the knee, and then the hand can come up a little bit higher, can come to the back. I like to move the hand for triangle from the front to the back of my foot to try to help me rotate that shoulder more open. And then the left hand can come up, or it can go behind the back. I love behind the back because it really helps open the shoulders up. And then top of the head reaches away from the back heel reaches away from the top of the head. So we're going after any tension in the lower back and the shoulders today. And we're using the legs to help us, right? All right, release that. Take your left hand to your left hip. And I have to move back a little bit, but you take your right hand to the outside of that right foot and start to try to lift up into your Ardha Chandrasana half moon pose. And you guys know, you've been taking now a few weeks, so you know you can just work on the pop up. If the balance isn't there, you can put your left foot on a wall, you can put your back against a wall, whatever you want to do. And then we're going to take our left hand up to the ceiling if that's available. You can even, if you want to make it a little harder or a little more challenging, look down at the floor, and then you can take your left hand to your left hip, and then maybe even try to take your right hand to your right. This is not a balancing day for me, but you can take your right hand to your right leg if you want. All right, let's release that. I'm going to take our left hand, I'm falling, left hand up to the, left hand down to the floor, left foot up to the ceiling into a standing split, and then we'll put our left foot down behind us into what's called a pyramid pose. So we're trying to start to rotate those left toes forward. Take your hand, one hand to your left hip, right hand to your right hip. Scoop the body forward and up. Flat back, come all the way up. Squeeze the thighs together. And then we're going to either take our hands into opposite elbows here, or you can start to work your way. Go tell Louie. You can take yourself into this reverse prayer position. Mama, go tell him. And then you've got your right foot forward, left foot back. And lift your chest and come forward over your right leg. Keep pulling the hips back. Head reaches long away from the hips. So for just a breath, I'm going to be in a flat back. And then I can exhale and come forward over my legs. I'm working on trying to keep that right leg straight, but it's okay if it's bent, but I'm working towards straight. And hips are trying to be even here. All right, inhale, come all the way up. Press back into the right foot and come to stand forward at the front of the mat. Release the arms. Roll the shoulder blades, the shoulders back. And let's go to the other side. So, okay. And then take your feet into hip distance and bend through the knees. Hook your thumbs. Come into your Utkatasana. Exhaling all the way down. Interlace the fingers behind the back. Uttanasana. Release the hands down towards the floor. Step yourself back. Plank pose. Chaturanga or all the way to the floor. And exhaling back. Downward facing dog. All right, inhale that left leg up. Bring the left knee to the nose. Put the foot between the hands. And draw yourself up, warrior one. Hands up to the ceiling. And then opening up, warrior two. I'm going to turn to face you guys. So stay in your warrior two. All right. And now we're going to take our right arm down, left arm up. And then we have to cross over, side angle. And then up, warrior two. This is where we build the leg strength, right? Over. And this is our last one. And over. And then one more. And this time we stay there. So we had our left forearm there, and the left shoulder moves back, or we have the hand to the inside of the foot or on a block. And then right arm's gonna come behind the back, and you might start to reach for the top of that left thigh here. And then if the neck is okay, you're gonna look up at the ceiling and keep rolling that right shoulder back. Stay here for 3 breaths. And then we're going to straighten through the left leg, and that hand will come to the outside of the left foot onto a block or a book, or you can prop it up onto your shin. and we're opening up. And our top hip is falling gently forward. We're not yanking it back. Our left knee is right in line with our second or third toe. And our top of our head is moving away from the heel. Back heel, heel's moving away from the top of our head. All right, from there, you can even keep this arm here and then bend through that left knee. Take your hand to the outside of the foot and start to come into your Ardha Chandrasana half moon pose. Top of the head, again, moving away from that back heel. So they're pulling you longer. And then, if it's a balancing day, which is definitely not for me, I'm gonna cheat a little and bend my left knee a lot. And then you can maybe take your hand off. And then you can fall out of it. All right, right hand down to the floor. Lift the right leg up to your standing split. Take the right foot down. This is Parsvottanasana. It's also called pyramid pose. So from the front, if you guys didn't see before, I'm trying to square off that back hip. And for a long time, my foot was pretty turned out, and then eventually I was able to get it pretty turned in. So that is one that you can work on. Okay, so let's take our hands to our hips and squeeze and come all the way up. And then we've either got that opposite elbow going on, or we can work ourselves into reverse prayer if we want to start trying to do that. And then, for example, my shoulders are feeling a little tighter after the workouts I did yesterday. And so I can't get the heels of my hands together today, but that's what I'm working toward. Oh, there we go. So that's what you're working towards. That's going to be hard for me to hold today, but that's kind of what you're working towards. And we had our left foot in front, right? So square those hips off as much as you can to the front wall, and then come forward, pull the left hip back. You're in a flat back here, and see the heels of my hands have already separated now. So I'm going to keep trying to work them together, even though they're not going to make it. Top of my head moving forward, hips moving back, and then maybe I'll fall over that front leg. And you can always just release the arms here if you just have it. It's a lot of work to keep them back. And my hands are totally separated anyway. Head moving forward, hips moving back. Let's do 2 more breaths here. Lift up on those kneecaps. And then we're going to inhale, come all the way up to stand. Push off that back foot. And come to the front of the mat, release the arms. Well, that was a lot. Okay. Let's come down to the floor. Yay. All right, so done a lot of shoulder stuff. Hopefully your hips are feeling more open. This is just one of my favorites for shoulder openers. We're gonna lie on our backs, put the soles of the feet on the floor. Let's first do a small back bend, a little bit of a back bend, a half wheel, and then we're gonna do preparation for full wheel, but don't worry, you don't have to come up into the back. Okay, we're just gonna do the prep for it. So push your feet into the floor, lift your hips up toward the ceiling. Let's just hinge up. And then take your arms behind the back, interlace your fingers, scooch the shoulders underneath the back, push the forearms down to the floor. And then lift up. And this shouldn't be that intense probably after all the shoulder work we did. This should just be kind of a nice aha moment. Try to let the inner thigh sink down to the floor as you lift your hips up. So we're not letting our knees splay out. All right, we're gonna roll all the way down to the floor. And then take your arms and flip them so that the hands are on the floor. And it's like you're gonna push up into a full back bend. From there, push your sacrum into the floor. So I think you all take Pilates, so we're not gonna have our posterior pelvic tilt. It's even a little bit, it's not anterior, but it's closer to anterior than posterior, okay? Really neutral. Now push your ribs down to the floor. Now keep your full hand on the floor and move your elbows away from the wall behind you. So if you were my wall, you might be able to see my elbows are gonna move away from the computer screen. So what that's doing is it's integrating the arm bone back into my shoulder socket. And then I'm gonna push my ribs down to the floor again. Hopefully this is making sense. This is a hard one to teach over camera, but I just love the shoulder opener so much. And we're just gonna push our hands into the floor and keep moving those elbows away from the back wall and take 5 deep breaths. All right, and release the hands and just move the hands around in the wrists. Okay, now if you're someone who really wants to try a big back bend, then I'll give you the opportunity now, because I can't actually see everybody, and so I don't know if you want to or not. So I'm gonna give everybody the opportunity. You're either gonna come in to a full wheel, into a half wheel here, just like what we were doing. And then you're gonna push into the one foot, push your forearms into the floor, push the backs of the shoulders into the floor, then push into one foot and maybe lift up the other leg and then put it down and then lift it the other one. Or if you wanna try to come up into the back bend, I'm not a big back bender, so it takes a lot for me to decide I'm doing a full wheel on a day-to-day basis. But it's kind of nice to take advantage of having your shoulders this open. So if you are doing the full back bend or trying to, just to even an attempt is interesting, pull the arms back to the shoulder sockets, take your hands behind your head like we just did, and then you can even just push up onto the top of your head and then come down, okay? Or you might decide to go into the whole thing, and I don't even know if it's available to me today, but you'll pull the arms back in and then maybe push up. And then come down whenever you're ready. And then you tuck you put the back of your head down and then tuck your chin. So just play for a few breaths in whatever you want to do. And just take advantage of being a little bit more open than you were probably yesterday. And you can even try that head thing where you're moving, once you come up, move your head towards the floor more. Okay, so wherever you are, we're all gonna beat on our backs. And we'll hug our knees into our chest and then hook your right leg over your left leg. And then if it's possible, hook the foot one more time around your ankle. So you've got this double, it's basically eagle legs on the ground. Now, from there, pull the right hip over. So the right leg is wrapped around the left. Pull the right hip away from the head. And then the neck is long on the back. And just stay there for a breath. And then we're gonna let those knees fall over to the left side. And the right arm is gonna reach away from us. And we're gonna try to reestablish that right shoulder onto the floor. And my knees are hovering, they're actually not all the way down because of this cross. And then I'm taking my left hand and pushing the thigh down and then pushing your right elbow away. If you have a sandbag or a small child or a cat, it's a good thing to put on that top thigh. And then listen carefully. We're gonna bring the legs back in, but we're not going to uncross them. We're simply gonna let the knees go to the other side. Okay, so we're letting them move to the other side. And I'm gonna even put my hand on my thigh and gently try to push them a little bit more open. And this might get you a nice stretch down that left piriformis, left hip, left thigh. And then we're gonna come back to the center and uncross that right leg and then recross it with the left leg over. Hopefully you're hooking that left toe, double hooking. If not, it's okay, it'll just kind of be hanging there. But hopefully you can do that. And then reach your left arm out to the side and reach your knees over to the right. And keep pushing that left thigh down to the floor and left arm along. And then come back to the center and knees go over to the other side, to the left side, and you're stretching through the right hip. And then come back to the center and we're gonna hug everything in. And we're gonna end with a breath, 1 or 2 cycles of a really interesting breath on pranayama exercise, breath exercise. And then I'll leave you in Shavasana. Okay, so it's 11, 12, and at 11:15, I'll bring you into Shavasana, and then you will either, my advice is stay there for 10 minutes, but just stay there as long as you can. And I'll keep the class on, the meeting on for an additional 10 minutes. Okay, so release everything down to the floor like you're gonna come into Shavasana. So it's warm, but if your house is cold or something, you want a blanket or socks, go ahead and get them. And we're just gonna be down on the floor. If you're someone who really likes to have your head propped up, then you could take your rolled up mat. I love these rolled up mats. They can be used for anything. And you can put it under your head, but make sure that you're keeping your airway nice and open. All right, shoulders are rolled back, hands are up towards the ceiling, just like you're getting ready for your Shavasana. And we're gonna do this 3 stages of breath. So the first thing we'll do is we're gonna inhale into our bellies, and then we're gonna hold the inhale for just a beat. Then we're gonna inhale, don't exhale, instead just keep inhaling into your rib cage, hold for a beat, and then inhale into your chest, and then do a nice long exhale. So I'll talk you through the first 5, and then I'm gonna let you go into your own breath, okay? So get ready, release everything. And then we're gonna inhale into our belly and hold. Inhale to the ribs, hold. Inhale to the chest and exhale. Inhale into the belly, hold. Inhale to the ribs, hold. Inhale to the chest and exhale. Then we'll inhale to the belly and hold. Inhale to the chest, hold. Inhale to higher in the chest, and then exhale. Inhale to the belly and hold. Inhale into the ribs and hold. Inhale into the chest and exhale. Inhale into the belly, hold. Inhale to the ribs and hold. Inhale to the chest and exhale. Inhale into the belly and hold. Inhale into the chest and hold. Inhale to the higher chest and exhale. Okay, I'm gonna leave you on your own, counting and doing that on your own. And then I will tell you when to come, release that and come into Shavasana. Of course, you can keep doing the breath longer if you want to. Okay, you can either stick with this breath or start to fully release into full relaxation, letting go of any attention on the breath and just releasing completely. So inhaling and then exhale and let it go. And come into your Shavasana, and my advice is at least 5 minutes, hopefully more like 10 if you can. And I will I'll turn my sound off, but I'll have my camera on. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week.